Did Deanna McBride really think she could outplay a seasoned, ruthless crime boss at his own game? For weeks, we have watched this grieving daughter execute a masterclass in silent psychological torture against Joey Armstrong. She ordered his favorite Tuscany wine. She subtly dropped mentions of the Tuscany pin found in her late father's belongings. She played the role of the accepting, healing daughter so perfectly that she actually had Joey sweating bullets. But let's be real for a second. Joey Armstrong is not some amateur villain who easily folds under pressure. He is a man who deals with the red market, who casually converses with his sister Heather, the literal impaler, and who burns damning confession letters without batting an eye. Joey was never going to just sit back and let a college student manipulate him into a corner. He decided to strike back, and his calculated retaliation was nothing short of devastating. The scene at Uptown was a masterclass in tension. Picture the setting: a supposedly elegant, healing family dinner. Vanessa McBride is sitting there wearing that signature hopeful smile, completely oblivious to the silent war raging across the table. She genuinely believes her family is finally blending, that the trauma of Doug's tragic death is slowly fading into the background. But Joey knows exactly what Deanna is doing. He knows she is wearing a mask. So instead of playing defense, Joey goes on the offensive. He targets the one sacred, untouchable thing in Deanna's life, the memory of her father, Doug McBride. Joey casually, yet deliberately, brings up highly sensitive memories of Doug. But he doesn't just reminisce. He drops toxic little hints. He suggests that Doug was far from the perfect saint Deanna idolizes. He implies that Doug had deep, dark secrets that would shatter Deanna's pristine image of him. It is a surgical, sociopathic strike aimed directly at Deanna's emotional Achilles heel. Joey knows that the letter he burned, the one where Doug explicitly blamed Joey for Kenny's murder and his own potential death, the physical proof is ashes. So now, Joey is weaponizing the ambiguity of Doug's past to completely destabilize Doug's daughter. And destabilize her, he did. Deanna, who had been trying so desperately to maintain her calm, calculating facade, absolutely shatters. The grief, the rage, the months of listening to her father's ghost in her head, it all boils over in a single visceral moment. She snaps. In a flash of pure, unadulterated fury, Deanna hurls her glass of wine directly into Joey's face. The restaurant goes dead silent, but she doesn't stop there. Dripping with literal and metaphorical venom, she screams that she will make Joey pay for her father's death at all costs. She doesn't care who is watching. She doesn't care about the optics. She just wants the man who destroyed her family to bleed. But here is the absolute genius and the tragedy of Joey's move. He didn't just want to anger Deanna. He wanted an audience for her breakdown. And that audience was Vanessa. Vanessa is left sitting there in absolute shock, her jaw practically on the floor. For months, Vanessa has been desperately trying to play peacemaker, completely blinded by her romantic infatuation with Joey. When Deanna explodes, Vanessa doesn't see a daughter crying out for justice against a murderer. She sees an unhinged, unstable young woman who is viciously attacking her loving boyfriend. This is where we have to talk about the sheer absurdity of Vanessa McBride's willful ignorance. How blind can one woman be? We have seen Vanessa actively investigate Heather Armstrong. We have seen her question the dangerous elements of Joey's lifestyle. She knows he operates in a gray area. Yet, when it comes to her own daughter's desperate cries for help, Vanessa's intuition completely shuts down. Joey has successfully isolated Deanna from her only remaining. By provoking Deanna into a public meltdown, Joey has entirely discredited her. If Deanna tries to bring up the burned letter now, or if she accuses Joey of murder, Vanessa will just write it off as the paranoid delusions of a grieving, vindictive daughter. It is gaslighting on a master level. Let's analyze the logic of Deanna's failure here. Her silent revenge plan was actually brilliant. By playing nice, she was getting close to Joey, dropping his guard and searching for the fatal flaw in his armor. But Deanna's fatal flaw is her emotional immaturity. She is a young woman drowning in grief. Her love for Doug is so pure and so fierce that she simply cannot tolerate anyone tarnishing his name, especially not the man who killed him. Joey knew this. He knew that if he insulted Doug, Deanna's logic would instantly give way to raw emotion. She sacrificed a brilliant long-term strategic war for a brief, satisfying moment of throwing wine in his face. And the cost of that wine toss is astronomical. Because of this calculated provocation, Deanna's silent revenge plan is now in absolute ruins. Joey has forced her hand, dragging her out of the shadows and into the glaring light where he holds all the power. Worse yet, he has created an unhealable rift between mother and daughter. Vanessa is now actively doubting her daughter's true motive. She is looking at Deanna not as a victim of trauma, but as an aggressor who is trying to sabotage her happiness. Joey didn't just dodge Deanna's trap, he used it to build a fortress around himself, with Vanessa acting as his unwitting shield. But we have to ask the critical question, was Joey entirely lying about Doug? We know Doug was a good man, but we also know he was dragged into Joey's messy, dangerous orbit. Doug knew about Kenny's murder. He carried the weight of that dark secret, a secret that ultimately got him killed. Joey is twisting the truth, taking Doug's tragic victimhood and framing it as moral corruption. It is a brilliant, disgusting tactic. By hinting at Doug's dark secrets, Joey is planting a seed of doubt, not just in Vanessa's mind, but potentially in Deanna's as well. What if she starts digging into her father's past and finds the ugly truths about the criminal underworld he was forced to witness? This entire sequence is a masterclass in soap opera psychology. It perfectly illustrates how power dynamics can shift in a single conversation. Joey Armstrong proved why he is the boss of the Fairmont Crest underworld. He doesn't just eliminate threats with violence. He eliminates them by destroying their credibility and their support system. Deanna walked into that Uptown dinner thinking she was the puppet master, pulling Joey's strings with her Tuscany wine and her fake smiles. She walked out as the villain in her own mother's eyes. However, let's add a twist insight to this analysis. What if Joey's massive victory at Uptown is actually the catalyst for his ultimate downfall? Think about it. A silent, calculating Deanna was a threat, yes. But a desperate, scorched earth Deanna with nothing left to lose, that is a nightmare. Joey has successfully alienated Deanna from Vanessa, which means Deanna no longer has to play nice for her mother's sake. The gloves are officially off. Deanna is now a free agent of chaos. Where does she go from here? She needs allies. She needs people who understand the dark, twisted reality of the people running Fairmont Crest. Could this push her closer to Noah Rollins? Noah is already charmed by her, and he is an outsider who isn't blinded by Joey's money or charm. Or, even more dangerously, what if Deanna realizes she needs to fight fire with fire? What if she crosses paths with someone like Smitty, who is already digging deep into the red market and the criminal underbelly of the town? If Deanna teams up with an investigative journalist, Joey's little wine toss victory is going to look like a massive tactical error. Furthermore, we cannot ignore the ghost of Doug McBride. Deanna has been guided by her father's voice, his memory pushing her forward. Joey insulting Doug might have broken Deanna in the short term, but in the long term, it is only going to fuel her fire. She made a public declaration. She will make him pay at all costs. When a grieving daughter makes a vow like that, the universe usually finds a way to let her collect the debt. Joey might think he has neutralized the threat by turning Vanessa against her, but he has only isolated the threat, making it more concentrated and volatile. In the end, this explosive dinner at Uptown changes the entire landscape of the McBride-Armstrong dynamic. The chessboard has been flipped. Joey Armstrong flexed his manipulative muscles and won the battle, successfully painting Deanna as the unstable aggressor and securing Vanessa's blind loyalty. But the war? The war is far from over. Deanna may have lost her cover, and she may have lost her mother's trust, but she has gained absolute clarity. She knows exactly what kind of monster she is dealing with now. The question is, How far into the darkness is Deanna willing to go to pull Joey Armstrong down into the abyss with her? Will she find the evidence she needs, or will she destroy herself trying to avenge a father whose secrets are still buried in the shadows? We will just have to keep watching to find out